Okay. I don't know if this is going to work right, but we're going to try it. Books for grass. Who would have thought? So I'm going to try and pick a size here. Let's put it at 0.2 it half, just to kind of give it a start. And of course, I want it so that I can click it without clicking the glass. So I'm going to have it pretty forward there. Notice how it sinks into the frame there, which is nice. Just drag that across. Now, do I want to drag it straight across, or do I want to flip it and drag it so that the zigzag, the markings on the paper is a little different? So it's not completely just try it that way. So we'll alternate which one we grab. And then I got to decide how wide is the path at the house, and then I'll widen it as we come down the canvas. To make that path stand out a little more. So I'm putting it about halfway between the wall, between the door and the end of the house. I'm putting the end of the path right along that midway mark, like maybe in the middle of the top windows here. So now a little more. Like so. So gradually I'll want to widen the gap. I don't know if I want to oh, my eyes are just totally watering. Notice I'm kind of overlapping the books a little bit. I'm not keeping them end to end because I think that'll look too um, I don't know what I want to say, too uniform. So I'm alternating and I'm also overlapping a bit. If that makes sense. And I'm slowly bringing that a little wider every time. Got to be careful not to poke it out too far on the side. Otherwise it starts messing that up. Eventually I'll just need one book. Kind of lost track of which book is where. Maybe it's too many materials. Again, I'm not really keeping track of that. If you're one to be very mindful of how many pieces you're using, this might not be ideal. For me, there's still plenty of space, so I'm not really concerned about that. But for those of you that really have to keep that in mind, that's this might not be the item. You'll have to find something else to use as your ground. Again, I would go with grays, browns, whites. You might could get away with using like some of the icicles or the glaciers, using the edges of those. The only thing I didn't want to do was, I'm hoping that it doesn't look too much like water. It's not supposed to be water, it's supposed to be just ground. Again, I want it to look a little dead so that the grass and stuff is, there's no green, no color, no flowers. Just like the trees that we're going to put in, they're going to be bare, leafless. Now, as we get closer and closer to the edge, obviously, since I'm using the one edge of the book, you might have to rotate it to the other one just to keep it small enough as it goes out to the edge here. Could be that I might have made the graduation too big or too small. You'll just have to adjust. Because this looks a little weird. It doesn't look like it graduates right, so I think I'm going to have to move this. A little better. Trying to find. No, they all look the same, don't they? Whoops, copied the glass. I mean to do that. Again, I'm having to watch for the edge of that book to come out. And there it is. So let's rotate it this way. So we'll have to adjust the position. And want to make sure I can still grab it, that it's in front of the glass, hopefully. Oh, grab the wrong one again. We get down to the bottom and I just can't continue that arc anymore. What I can probably do is just hide it with, like say, the bottom of one of the trees, hoping I can. Oh, no, it doesn't look like I wanna. So we'll leave it like that. If nothing else, you can just shorten your canvas to suit your needs. So you can see it's pretty much just kind of following along. And the further away from you go, the narrower it needs to be. Same way when you start putting trees in, you're going to have your biggest at the front, and then they're going to go smaller as they get closer and closer to the house. So it just plays with the perspective. It's not going to be really completely accurate, but you want it something similar. Before we do the trees though, we're going to want to deal with the rest of the background. I don't want to leave it completely flat. I do want to add some kind of like fake bushes. Again, I don't want to use the green stuff because, you know, I think it'll be out of place. So you'd have to find something that's, you can pretend like it's bushes of some kind, but it has that randomness about it, but something that sticks with the color palette. So it'll need to be dark. Uh, I think I'd want it to be more like this dark. Um, not as dark as the house, but not as light as any of the other bits. So something in between. So I'll have to give some thought on what we might use for that. But for now, we'll work on the rest of the ground bits. So again, we're just gonna do this lovely book after book after book. Now, I could maybe get away with copying it and flipping it and then syncing it in, and then it would be exactly a mirrored image. But I kind of don't want to do that because it'll, again, I don't want to have it look perfectly mirrored. That kind of takes away some of just, I don't know, it just looks a little more fake that way. So I'm going to try and not do that. I think it'll be better if I just eyeball everything like I've been doing. Again, it'll be a pain to adjust if I decide the road is too narrow or too wide. Maybe if I'm wanting it to go straight, you know, make it look straight instead of curvy or something, that might pose some issues with adjusting, because then you have to sit there and pick each little book up and move it the way you need to. But that's the price. Yeah, you could. You could. I kind of wanted it to be more straight on than anything. But yeah, you could have it. I could have, I've done that in a couple of other ones where I've had it kind of zigzag the road back and forth, or you can have it come all the way around and loop. That's doable too, if you want. I'm kind of wanting it to stay straight, as if it's this long driveway, just long, and having the trees on either side. But yeah, you can make all sorts of adjustments. And like I said, change the canvas size. I've done that on several occasions, especially if I'm having trouble moving some of the elements. I just rearrange the canvas. It's easier sometimes to do it that way. Notice there's that odd little line right there. I'm not going to worry about it, even though it kind of breaks up the path. We'll just pretend it's some kind of a weird thing in the road. Same way with the streaks in the sky. We're not going to worry about those. We're going to hope that they kind of just play into the scene themselves. Maybe as misty piles of, I don't know what. Yeah, it could be, I'm sure there's other items that probably could be used. But like I said, I'm sticking for a particular look, so I'm limiting myself. Um, I don't know, maybe you could use, I don't know what. The books just seem to work. Maybe using a different color. I'm using the blue books. I'm hoping that'll come off more grayish looking than actual blue. Obviously, if you get a little close, you see it. And they are sticking out pretty far. I may end up selecting all of them and pushing them in. That's one advantage of using a different color book than the books for the frame. That way I don't select those at the same time, because once it comes to us putting in our trees, it may actually pose a problem because there is that little bit of a gap between the book covers and the book pages on the inside. So if I'm laying a tree piece on top of that, if I'm trying to keep it close, I'm going to have to keep it out far enough to cover up the book covers, but you don't want to, again, you don't want to layer it up so much that it becomes like super thick. So eventually I'll probably push all of these as far in as I can. But I don't want to do that yet because, again, it'll become problematic when I want to make an adjustment, because I'd constantly be hitting the glass. Now, I could, in theory, remove the glass and, temporarily and put that in later. But like sometimes you want that glass there because then you can see, okay, I need to tilt it this way or that way, especially with this top part since it's at a slant. Also, you get a better feel for how it's going to look in the painting because of how you place it, what it looks like against that lighter background. If I remove the glass, then I don't have that coloring to compare it to. So I'll probably get the grass set up like I want, and then I'll push it all in as close as I can, even if some of it goes behind the glass, because by then I should be happy with where it is, how it looks, and if not, then I'll be in trouble later. But yeah, it's one of the fun things using the items differently. I mean, we saw how you use them for your house, for the stairs, the cabinetry, all that kind of stuff, you know, the walls and everything. Again, I like, what do they call it? Recycling the pieces that you get off of the housing vendor, just coming up with different ways to use the same things, to give people options. So that when it comes that some of this new fandangled decor is only released on the housing, you know, the cash shop, they don't feel like they're forever limited. They can reuse these pieces that we already have, that we've had for years now, and still come up with something different. Part of the fun. Okay, starting to come into the spot where it's going to be a little smooshy smooshy. Almost to the point where we can just use the one book. Ugh, I just keep watering. And I'm still having trouble with my screen. I think I updated a driver or something like last week or the week before, and ever since then, I have dual monitors. So when I turn on the computer, both of them should come on. Well, one comes on, but the other one like flashes and then it goes off, like it's in sleep mode already. And it's very irritating because I'm like, what? I can't. This looks like I've got them much closer, and over here it's a little bit more gappy. That might pose problems. I probably should have just um, copied them straight across. I think I may have to redo this bit, unfortunately. I think that's gonna pose an issue. And this looks much straighter than this one. This one looks like it bows too fast. Ah, or maybe I can just fix that by pushing these in a little bit. I don't know. But it definitely looks like I've done it differently. Could be just the edges of the books look a little different on this side. Could be the lighting that's playing, because this looks darker over here and this looks lighter, even though it's the same piece. That's kind of throwing me a little bit. Like uh, some of the stones and stuff, depending on the lighting, they look one color on one side and then on another color as the light is changed on different. We saw that on the mirrors in the dressing room. Depending on where I stood or how I had the camera, the mirrors changed colors. They went from green to blue to gray. It was really weird. I see that looks. It just looks different, but I think it's more to do with the lighting of the books. I think. I don't know. I probably used more on this side as well. I think the lines are more tight. Unintentional, but that's just how it worked out. So I'll try and not pay too much attention to that. If I do, part of it is I just really don't want to do that again. There's so many books. Too many books. See, this one's working out fine. It just emphasizes how I've done both sides a little bit differently. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. So there's the grass, the road leading up to the house, and the sky, the house itself, making some progress. So we need something, I want something a little, like I said, I want it rough looking, like lumpy, I guess is the right word, but something that's relatively flat so that we can kind of, you know, again, it's not sticking out a lot. Excuse me, get the hiccups now. So again, I want something like about this shade. See, it's not as dark as the house. It's just kind of a dark gray. I want something like that. But I don't know. I feel like that might work, but that's with the light. I don't really want to use any lighting because that'll throw up some weird shadow stuffs. This is too round. Don't want it that smooth. And it's brown. Figuring a stone will probably have to be, probably going to have to use those obsidian stones. I think the gray will be too gray. Won't look right. Gonna go through what all I have in the crate first. See, probably like the bottom of this would work well, but that's not a very accessible bottom of the tiered sandstones, possibly. This would be another good one. Mossy overgrowth has got a really interesting bottom to it. But again, it's not very accessible to most people, so I try to avoid those kind of things in a lot of my builds because while I have it, it's there and I could use it. It's not exactly the easiest thing to get a hold of. And when it comes to my paintings, I kind of try, not always do I succeed, but I try to limit myself on those things because sometimes I do share these paintings with others and I don't want them to feel like they have to grind for decades just to get that one stray item. I know it can be problematic, even if it's just renowned stuff, because especially if you're using the expensive ones, like we saw with the pianos, some of them, they got that from our 50th anniversary episode. I gave away some piano codes courtesy of Flower River Song, and they're just now placing those pianos because it took them this long to save back enough of the renown. So while I think this would work wonderfully, the bottom of this one, I opt not to use it for the purpose that, maybe I give this to somebody and I don't want them going, oh my gosh, I have to find one of those. I don't want to have to pay 10 plat for a tree just to have your painting, Carrot, that kind of thing. I don't know what the bottom of that one looks like. And think I'd have to make it pretty big to show up, and that means some green sticking out the back. And I got a lot of junk in here. That's one of the things I've actually been contemplating of tearing down the shopping center, the WildStar Plaza. I haven't come to the full decision, but I've been playing with the idea of tearing it down because it just seems a shame that I don't use most of the stuff she has in her crate. I know this one is the alts crate, but it reminds me of Carrot's because Carrot's got all the Shades Eve stuff, all the Winterfest stuff, and I don't use most of it because I have it stationary in that one particular build. I think we'll just go with see if the Obsidian's rocks will work. I have lots of extras of these, so we'll see if I can make a bush looking thing. I may have to use several just to get it to look like a round kind of bit, but we shall see. It may not even be the right color. That's another thing I'm really aiming for. See, I don't want little mountains. That looks like a little mountain to me. I want something lumpy. I don't know how better to describe it. Let me think. Containers, they're probably too round. We need something different. I don't think that's gonna work. Let me go to the vendor. Let me see. I don't think any of these will be the right. Maybe the Hoogles? Maybe. I don't think I have any here. I am. That's the too smooth one. I wanted the other one. Put one of those out. Just in case. Those are too light. Want something dark. I think again that's gonna stick out funny. I wonder, what is that under plants? Grasses? I'm gonna see what that looks like. I'm thinking of the bottoms with the browns. Trying to think of what else. Gonna have to be something kind of natural so it doesn't look too shaped. I don't want the shaped. I think Aurora, the way Katia has set it up, I think there's a way to, say you have a 50-piece set and one of them is like a renowned item that you don't have access to yet, but you have everything else. The way I understand it, and I honestly don't know exactly if there's a command that you use or what, but I think there's a way that as it starts placing, once it gets to that item you don't have, and it kind of like stops, that you can force it to continue to place the rest of it. That's how I understand it. I've never done it, So I can't say for sure what command or whatever you use to do that. Um, I may reach out to her and see if she can give me a specific uh, rundown of how that works. I don't know if it's just a matter of hitting like escape or something, because I don't think there's an actual button for the set manager that says continue or anything. No, I don't see anything that specifically says that, but I want to say I remember her saying that there was a way that if you didn't have certain things that you could bypass it. But I'll ask her about that. It's a good question. I know I've stressed a lot that when you have a set, you always want to use that question mark to check and make sure you have everything before you place it so that it doesn't error out. But I'll see if she can, if I can get in touch with her. Or you can try messaging her directly yourself. But I'll do that myself for sure. That way I have the information to pass along. Maybe I can pass that along tomorrow. But I think there's a way, if I remember right, that she said that you could do that. Because I think it was when we were talking about setting up the golf course she sent me a copy of. There was a few things that I didn't have yet, and she says if you want, just do this and this, and then you know it can bypass. But I don't remember specifically how she said to go about it. It may actually even be in the emails that she sent me. I'll have to dig through those. But uh, to save myself the headache, I just made sure I had everything before I actually placed it. But yeah, I think there's a way that you can do that. Now, once you have it set, I don't know if there's a way of just selecting those specific items that you need to, that you didn't have before, that you just want to place those rather than setting down a whole new copy. You know, like say you have the 50 pieces, but you're like one piece short, and later you get that one piece. If you have that set selected, is there a way just to place that one piece rather than having to do the whole set again? I don't know about that. Again, I'll ask her and see if there's a simple way to explain or to if there's actually a function for that kind of thing. But yeah, that's a great question because I'm sure it's happened to everybody. It's happened to me where I'll go and place something, I'll forget to check if I got everything, and then it goes error, you know, or it pauses and says you don't have that decor, and I was like, oh man, you know, how stupid was that? And then I just create everything and start over once I got it all. So yeah, let me just note that down. Incomplete. That's there. I'll mail her with that question after the show today. Okay, so I've completely forgotten what we were talking about. Oh, the bushes, right? Um, let's see. Going to turn this over. I'm going to be using just the bottoms. I don't know how well the bottoms actually show up. That's why I'm not sure if this will work, but I'm curious to see what it looks like. I'm even considering maybe using like the clumps of the banded dynamite, the sticks. That might work as well in my head. See, I just don't think that's gonna be right. This looks weird. That looks like a desert scene to me. So no, that's not gonna. It's not what I'm seeing in my head. I have it in my head, but I can't get it out onto the canvas. I think the banded dynamite's going to be the wrong color, but I'm going to see if it actually does what I'm thinking it will do. So, translate big. Oh, maybe the color will be all right, even if it's red. But I'm picturing, I'm kind of, again, I'm still kind of looking at references, pictures. I just did a Google of, I think it was Halloween painting or something, and there's lots of examples of how they've done the background. The problem is most of them have like a hazy where it looks glowy, and so things are really well blended. Whereas opposed to this, there's that stark difference, from the sky to the bush thing. So it's not the same effect that I would be able to make if I was just kind of like smearing the paint or whatever. But I'm going to try to make this look like it's lumpy wad of bushes, something on either side. Again, I'm having to pay attention to that horizon so it's not, see how it's kind of sticking out at the bottom? You want to cover that up. Get your hat out of the way, girly. And again, change the shape of it so it doesn't look completely uh, the same all the way across. You want to elevate, turn. Yeah, I'm probably using way more pieces than are necessary, but again, these are just experiments in tweaking, find what works, what doesn't. If I was to do this kind of painting multiples, I would probably find different ways of making it a lot more efficient. There's been instances where I'll put something together and then end up only like using half of it because I push it in and then you only see part of it, and it comes that later I delete parts of it because it doesn't work out that way. So here's some weird kind of bush stuffs. Sort of looks all right. Again, got a different color from the house. It's nice and contrasted against the sky. Oh my gosh, 3. All right, I appreciate that, Aurora. I'm going to go ahead and note down, though. I saw the one. I can't believe you've already done so many others, but that's awesome. Totally, totally welcome. But I'm going to go ahead and add Saphira's because I've got Bucky's plot, Bones' plot. I got Valerie's, the one that posted in the forums about theirs on Dominion side. So I'll add Aurora, not Aurora, Saphira. Azure, I think. And then when you mail me the details as far as like what they are, I'll update. Have you started yours, Poi? I know you said you were still contemplating on what to make. Well, like I said, some people use these little CBDC things as, again, they're distractions. Maybe you've had some builder's block. I know a few that have had that, and then they've used um, working on the CBDC as an opportunity to just kind of clear their minds of what they're concentrating on, and it later they're able to go back to it and better tackle whatever it is they were trying to figure out. Sometimes the CBDC actually gives them some fresh ideas on how to approach some of the issues that they're facing with their main plot, that kind of thing. So, um, like I said, I know it's not rewarding in the way that it's not like we're giving away prizes or anything, but I think it's helpful and useful in its own terms. I'm gonna have to figure out something to just streak across there because I don't like how it's kind of blotchy there. Then again, maybe there's a little bit of light coming through. I don't know. So we got one side. Let's go ahead. That looks like a cow. Add some horns and you have a cow shadow right there. Mm. Um, I'm like Doug. Squirrel. I just kind of get distracted with the critters. Anyway, oh gosh, what was I saying? Let's work on the other side. Off the cow subject. Again, you want to keep it kind of rough and tumbly because you don't want it to look too these are supposed to be trees. Trees don't have any like perfectly uniform appearance to them. They're lumpy, misshapen bits. Four of them though. Are any of them like, well, I know the one. I actually don't know what it is. I've seen it before, but I don't know the name of it. I think it's something from one of the movies. Um, the very gruesome movies that I don't watch, but I don't know the name of it. But like, are any of them like similar to the ones that Bucky's been putting out? I know. Well, let's see. I think Bones did a troll. Um, Bucky, the one that he mentioned specifically, um, was the gargoyle. He's got a griffin and then another one. I haven't seen the griffin and the other one yet. I've kind of been holding off, as you know me. I like to treat myself too. Keep it a surprise sometimes. Are any of them like just made up, or is it like Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I don't like that movie. My husband watches those. He always goes, "You want to watch that?" I was like, "No." Those are the kinds that I'll have nightmares about. I'm very impressionable when it comes to that stuff. Hey, Kruja, glad you could join. We're just goofing around with a house, sort of thingy. Boxing in some trees for the background. Like filling in the follow the lines, fill it in. There we go. How's that look? Does that look not mirrored enough? Good enough? Some of it's reminiscent of both on either side, but I think that. Oh, that sounds interesting, Aurora. I'm gonna have to let me jot those down. I really badly want to go and have a look, but I'm gonna have to keep myself from doing that. So you've got Billy. I think one of the ones Bucky did was the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I think he did that one from Ghostbusters. Again, I haven't seen him yet, but I imagine it's pretty funny. I think that's the one he's most proud of anyway. That's smart thinking. Smart thinking. Don't get our hopes up high. If it fails, then you don't have to. No one's the wiser. That's how I do sometimes. I like say, well, I think I can do this, but I don't want to tell anybody because I probably won't be able to pull it off. That's what makes me nervous about these things when I'm kind of doing them on the stream. Kind of like the dress or the goat. I give a valiant effort to create those on the stream, and I end up going, oh my god, that looks so awful, and I end up working on it off stream, and it comes out completely different. But it's not on purpose. It's just sometimes it's hard just to kind of uh, again, you can see something in your head, you know kind of the pieces that you want to use or you think you can use, but when you actually get down to trying to put it, on paper, it doesn't work out like you expect, and it can be frustrating. And then you're struggling. Okay, I can't use that. What else can I use? And then you kind of get stuck, and that can be well, in my case, it could be embarrassing because then I'm thinking, well, they don't know what I don't know what I'm talking about here. I'm trying to show people, and I'm totally clueless. Oh, have you seen his? Well, I'll have to take a look. I need to go by and take pictures anyway because I like to take screenshots and stuff. The only reason I haven't gone in earlier is because usually I kind of wait to see if they're going to add any last minute bits. But uh, just based off of the effort so far, we're going to have quite a few. So I'm going to have to get a head start on some of that and just keep it organized because when it comes to that day, 31st, I may have my hands full. Because we'll have your four. I think Bucky has three or four. I've got a couple. Boy's going to have at least one. I think Maddie is going to be putting some together. I haven't heard of anyone else, but I wouldn't be surprised if a few kind of come out of the woodwork. Um, so yeah, we're gonna have quite a few. So it should be fun. Be make for a good holiday treat. Okay, so now we have a little bit of background for the trees and stuff. Now, if I'm wanting to make it, again, a lot of the spooky paintings that I've been looking at, theirs is kind of like hazy. Yes, the sky's kind of hazy in and of itself, but it's not like I can do that very well with the edge of the bushes or the trees to blend it with the sky. The only way I can think of maybe doing that is adding, you can either try tinkering with the layered glass. I think that will be more problematic than you might expect because you're always going to have that straight edge of the glass to contend with. And then there will be a lot of tilting going on. And you can see I've got these pretty far out at the moment. So I don't think that's going to work very well. But one thing that might work is using some of those web covered eggs. I just don't know if it's going to show up at the size that we have it. I'm trying to decide which ones would look better. Maybe the red, since we're already using kind of a red. Again, I don't know if this is going to work like I'm thinking in my head. But I will see if it will give us a nice weird effect of some kind. Just rotating it, trying to see if there's any, just place it, 'cause that's going to drive me bonkers. If there's any angle or position that I can put it in that'll look kind of interesting. But again, I don't want it like sticking super far out, so it's also something I'm paying attention to. Don't want it to be the same pattern all the way across either, so that's gonna be tough. See how it like kind of breaks it up a little bit? I don't know if it breaks it up in the way that I'd like, but it almost looks like there's some kind of a mountain in the far back with a little bit of a lake in between. It almost looks like it's mirroring itself. That's kind of weird. Oh, Freddie, yeah. I thought about trying Edward Scissorhands, but I kind of gave up on that thought. Yeah, could you? I've tried that. I used to do sketches or take lots of notes. Like I would have ideas about items I would use, and I'd write all that down. But again, you don't really know how those items are going to play together, especially if you're doing a lot of cobbling, until you actually put it together. There will be things I think, oh, I could use this for, the back of this chair and it'll work great. I go to put it together and like there's things that are sticking out where I didn't think they would stick out, or maybe the size is completely wrong or the color just doesn't quite work. Um, so a lot of it is just, it comes down really to just trial and error. Uh, you just have to get in there, you get your hands dirty. That's basically it. And just see where it takes you, because it's definitely like just a huge experiment is what it is. It's basically it. It's like this. I have no idea if this is going to look right, but I keep fiddling with it until I get something I kind of like, and then we'll see how that looks. Part of the fun, though, I think. This is one of those things, definitely, if someone else tried to follow along with this, they'd probably get a totally different result, because just how I'm turning pieces and willy-nilly in it. Maybe I like it more that it's solid here and instead of all these little white gaps. Or maybe I prefer a lot of the white. Maybe it doesn't have enough on this side. Maybe it's okay that there's more on one side and less on the other. I don't know. Maybe that's like a mist coming up out of somewhere. Maybe I don't like that that's slanted this way. I want it this way instead. Hard to tell. Again, keep in mind these things are going to be sticking out, and it'll change too if I decide that the books are where I want them, or I decide the bushes are where I want them, and then I link them up and push them in. That could change how they look, depending on, because like right now they're pretty dark. If I push them in too far, that slanted glass that's at the top will lighten some of that up. Maybe that works to my advantage. Maybe it gives it a little bit more. Let's see. Let me just grab one of these, and we'll link all the dynamite together. So there's the dynamite row. That's the trees. So if I push them in, see how they lighten up as I push them? Some of them are darker, some are lighter. Depends on where I put them. That could change things pretty dramatically. Maybe I want to keep them dark. Maybe I want them a little bit lighter. It's kind of hard to tell for sure how it's going to look because they're still purple because of the way the selection works, but I think I prefer them being solid dark. I like the contrast between the grass, the background bits, whatever those are, mountains or something, and the contrast between the house and them, the road and them, the sky. They all have their different colors. So I like that. Notice though that I have the egg sticking out on this side, which is going to have to be remedied. Can't have the egg poking out. There we go. See, that changed the look of that. Okay. Do we want a moon? How do we add a moon? We want something kind of grayish, something bright white, yellow moon, no moon at all, a quarter moon, a full moon, we want moon with like clouds in front. How do we do the clouds? Those will be things we'll address tomorrow. I think we've been going for quite a while now. So yeah, we're going to call it good for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Wish you much luck on your projects, especially those of you that are working on some CBDC stuff. We do have still several weeks to go on that, I think. My calendar's working. Yay. Right about 3 weeks you have, because it'll be that following Monday that we'll be doing the showcase. So you got roughly 3 weeks to go to put together as many monsters as you want, in as many settings as you want. If you want to just do it monster in a, in your bunker house and that's all that's there, that's perfect, that's fine. If you want to do them actually in a setting of some sort, that's great as well. We'll accept it either way. But yeah, as long as it's within the theme of the season, not particularly looking for, it doesn't have to be specifically Shades Eve. It could be, your typical Draculas, Frankensteins, mummies, werewolves if you want, or it can be something totally made up by you. As long as you kind of explain to me what it's supposed to be, whether it's some kind of garden monster, evil gnome thing that you've created out of your head, put it together, some kind of mechanical beast that you have sorted up. We've seen some that have made like some really strange, strainy looking spiders and other creatures and stuff. As long as you kind of tell me what it's supposed to be, I'll include it. I'm happy to do that because, it takes all kinds, and it's always fun to see just the imagination and combinations of items and things. So, yeah, thanks again for joining. I appreciate all the follows, the tweets, the retweets, the votes, the general support, and of course, always the company. It's just a joy to have you guys join me and chat and discuss and even advise at times when I'm having trouble putting something together. I should be here tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. I did say I've been kind of feeling like I'm trying to come down with something, and I can't guarantee, but I will be here if nothing else for Wednesday. We do have house tours coming up on Wednesday. I make it a point, even if I'm on my deathbed, I'm going to be here to do those house tours. I don't know of any other event coming up except we do have Shades Eve. I haven't seen or heard an actual definitive date other than I think the 19th is what I heard somebody say in a tweet. Whether that's going to be for certain, I don't know. But if that's true, that's just about a week away. So everybody's getting excited. We've got some of the new Madam Faye things coming up. That's supposed to hit on the 12th, which is this Wednesday. So maybe we'll see some additional stuff at that time too. I don't know. But yeah, it's going to be a very exciting month. Hopefully we get a lot of fun builds with the CBDC going, but even if you're not building for the CBDC, if you've got a Shades Eve plot you want to share, I am planning to try and do an exclusive, just Shades Eve / Halloween / seasonal fall season plot tour. So if you have a plot or know of a plot that I haven't toured yet that you think would work, that you'd like to see me include in that special showcase, please let me know, and I will include it. Doesn't matter faction, preferably just keep it to Jabbit. We're not really doing NA tours specifically other than CBDC stuff. But yeah, I'd love to hear about it because as much as I do the random tours, it does become a chore to try and find those specific themed ones out of, literally hundreds of houses, it can get kind of taxing. So if you know of any that I haven't toured yet, please let me know. If you do come across some that I have toured, go ahead and let me know about those too, because if we don't have very many new ones, I'm happy to retour some of the older ones if they're still around. Most of the ones that I've checked from last year, they are no longer available. So it's just one of those things. People move on or change the themes or whatever, and so maybe we'll get some new stuff, especially as the season has kicked in. People are getting excited about it, so they're starting to put things together for it. And as we get closer to the end of the month, hopefully we'll have some more pop up that we can visit. In the meantime, have fun. Good luck with your stuff, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.